You're listening to Spark TV, where we bring you daily interviews with real women in business at all stages. I'm your host, Danielle Lewis, and I am so grateful to have you here. Elisa, oh my God, we made it.
Yes.
How are you? Welcome to Spark TV.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here.
I am so excited. All of the chats we have had have been absolutely incredible. So I'm just so excited and inspired to bring them to the Spark community. So thank you. This is going to be fun.
Well, let's spark something special.
Oh my God, I love you already. In with the puns. Let's start out by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
My name is Elisa Choy. I'm an economist turned energy coach. So I now do energy healing through hypnosis, quantum hypnosis. So I help people connect to their subconscious part of themselves to answer questions about their life. So it's actually not that different to what I used to do. I used to answer questions about, the economy, people, culture, society, trends. And I used data, which was, I guess, hard data. And I used AI as my tool. Now I'm answering questions about people's lives rather than businesses. And I'm also using a different data set, which is the subconscious quantum part of our dimension. And then I'm using hypnosis as my method. So I'm still finding answers, but this time around, I think it's really more meaningful because I get to see the shifts that people can encounter through these experiences. And so that's what I do now. But I'm still an economist and a data person at heart.
I love it so much. Now, what the hell is quantum hypnosis for anyone who is listening and going, what are you talking about?
Yes, so hypnosis, we all get an idea of what it is. It's not the big stage, look at me, turn into a chicken, bark like a dog. That is, I guess, the hyped version of what it is. But essentially, it's just guided meditation to get people down to a level of consciousness state just before sleep. So as a hypnotherapist, somebody just takes you through the many layers of consciousness down to a level called theta. And theta, if you've ever heard of it, like anyone who's in the theta zone, that's when you manifest. That's when you enter the quantum dimension. So if you're into any of this stuff and you hear words bandy around, like everyone has heard of manifest. When you're in a theta section of your consciousness, that's where the juicy stuff happens. And so as a quantum hypnotherapy person, which is what I take people down to that juicy theta. And then we can answer questions where we can connect with their subconscious part of themselves. So quantum just means it's that sort of dimension of where there is no time and no space.
Wow.
Everything is infinite possibilities. It's also the font of wisdom and healing. So in a quantum healing sense, that's where we enter. There's also the word quantum in quantum computing or quantum physics. That's got a similar sort of, there's a little, I guess, link to what it means, but really quantum just means infinite possibilities. And that's where the word abundance comes in. And I know everyone's heard of the word abundance.
Well, I think what's really interesting by just listening to you sort of taking us through that is you're right. People have heard manifest, have heard abundance. And whilst they are fantastic, they do feel a little bit surface level. And I think that oftentimes people get a little bit stuck on what am I supposed to manifest? What is abundance to me? And I just feel like you potentially have this ability to you started with answering questions. So I just feel like there's more to the story here where it's, how do we go deeper into ourselves to understand what we actually truly want in the first place? And then how do we get there?
That's right. So a lot of us, I guess, we've operated from the mind, the conscious mind, which is that sort of mushy part in our head, right? Which is really influenced by what we know in this lifetime. Now, underneath that call the subconscious part of us, we have both at play all the time. But we tend to lead too much with the conscious mind, our left brain, our logical brain, our right, our, whatever we touch and feel and smell is real. But really, there's a lot of stuff that happens in our behavior, our patterns, why we
Mm.
do certain things, why certain things happen in our lives that can't be answered in the conscious mind. And that's where, I guess, talk therapy, like your typical talking to a psychologist or a therapist, that's conscious mind to conscious mind trying to decrypt something that's going on, which has its great place because it helps you understand, oh, what are my fears? What are my patterns? What are all the things that are happening? But it doesn't sometimes shift that because for example, I need to lose weight. I need to not drink too much alcohol. I need to go and do that business idea. I want to, and I know why. I have this fear. I can describe it until, the cows come home. I know the tools I need. I know when it triggers me. I know. I talk about it for like forever, but it's still there. And so sometimes
Yeah.
that's the subconscious part. It's like, well,
Mhm.
there's something that we need to uncover
Yeah, there's a
underneath.
block. Yeah,
There's
there's
a
something.
block.
Yeah, knowing almost doesn't help.
Knowing
Knowing.
makes you more I guess upset about it because at least you're not ignorant, which is bliss. You're
Mm,
actually now aware, which makes it harder because you're like, oh, I really want to shift it. So we've all been there, and so in this work it's really helping people connect to that part of themselves. And so
mm,
people can already do that by many methods if you can meditate very well, which I still find difficult, to be honest. Like, I'm not,
same.
or people go and do retreats like ayahuasca retreats to take some plant medicine, or they take mushrooms, or, all the different things to psychedelically get them there. But hypnosis is a gentler way to get you through to that
Mm,
state. And when you do it through a hypnotherapy session, I become the person that can help guide and ask questions of your subconscious self and have that conversation with you, with the other
wow.
part of you. So, I call it a gentle and effective way to shift and release blocks and help understand trauma, for example. Like, we have a lot of stuff that happens in our life. Talking about it, this happened in my childhood, this happened to my relationship. That's great, but sometimes you need to move on from it and you don't know how to heal without understanding, why did that happen to me? And
Mm.
sometimes in this work, there is a answer from a past life, not from the current life. And you can access those answers through the subconscious self in hypnosis. That's why I love it. It's just the font of all answers.
Oh my God, this is incredible. And it's just so fascinating how, of course, sometimes just that talking and that surface level and being aware of the problem, like no wonder we have such blocks in trying to make things happen. I'm using air quotes for anyone who's listening to this. We're trying to make things happen, but, oftentimes there is just this huge invisible block, and you lie there in bed, speaking from personal experience, and just going, why can't I take that action? Like, I can look at my to-do list and go, I know if I do this, this, and this, it's going to get me to the thing I want. But I
Yeah.
can't, some days you just can't
Yep.
even do the things that you've got to do.
Yep.
So there are these huge invisible blocks in our life. I mean, having a tool like this that can help remove those, it just sounds wild.
Yeah. And there's always a beautiful story that accompanies why you're doing something or not doing something. Typical one
Mm,
is fear. For women, typical one is
mm,
fear to be heard or fear to be seen.
mm.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so that
absolutely.
stops us from actually stepping into who we really want to be. Now, in this process, there's been countless examples where women who come in, they have a fear to do something. It comes from a past life. And there's been
Wow.
occasions where their past life, they were persecuted for speaking.
Mm,
They were persecuted because they were burnt at the stake in some era way, way, way long ago, which is carrying through now. So what we do is, in the hypnosis session, they explore that life and we explore
mm.
what happened to that person. And then that's why you've got this fear of speaking out in this life. And then we address it at the source and we go, okay, we don't need to have that carry through, do we? We can actually move on from that point in time. It's not relevant for this person's life in this lifetime, is it? And then we shift it and it's done,
Far out.
right?
So how did you, I'm wildly fascinated how you went from economist to quantum hypnotherapist. Like, talk me through what happened to get you from A to B or A to Z, as
Well,
it were.
it's actually been a journey. If I look back, um, I and this is, I'm really zooming back here now. It's not only just my story. I feel that there's a lot of particularly women in their 40s and 50s who are now coming to their ripeness to step
Mm,
into who they were always going to be. But we had to go through all these other things to get to here. And so that's point one. There's like a bigger, almost planetary shift that is outside of us that has directed us all to this focal point of healing with energy.
mm,
But my background has always been, business, strategy, data, accounting, finance, all the, we call it the yang sort of style. There's yin and yang. The yang, which is the masculine essence of go do, produce, be ambitious, be competitive,
mm.
achieve, output, output. We've all grown to be that, or I have at least, and value that as success. And that's also been a theme much wider than me, but through all of society for thousands of years. And so we're now looking at rebalancing the yin and the yang. And the yin is the feminine side of us, which is the intuitive, the collaborative, the soft, the healing, the creation. Women, mothers, we create life. So that element of masculine and feminine, which we all have in us, is now going to be rebalanced through this point in time. So I'm no different. I'm just sort of following along what the bigger construct is happening. But from my journey from economist to energy work, it's actually been about 7-8 years. And that
Wow.
really came about from 2018. I had what I call a Hiroshima moment, which is when a bomb came out of nowhere and just like decimated everything in my life. So within the space of a month, I I, I had my relationship of 10 years breakdown, and we had
Mm,
children. We had a burglar in our house, like a physical burglar. I know that's
wow.
random, but that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
I ended my corporate career of 16 years. I was in a big job at Woolworths, which was killing me,
Mm,
unbeknownst to me. And I also lost my voice. So for me, losing my voice is my essence. My
mm.
voice is my expression, and my voice, knowing what I know in my past lives, is I've always used my voice to teach, to share. My voice is me. So losing my voice was very significant, and all of that happened, boom, within a month. And then within 6 months, I developed rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 38. So that's the old
What?
person's prickly disease where my joints were swollen. I couldn't get out of bed. I was in intense pain, constantly around the clock. I was
Wow.
burnt out, and my body just gave out. It was like, you
Yeah.
have no choice,
But
darling.
no, we're done here.
No, you're done.
Wow.
So that forced me, I guess, into resetting and reevaluating everything.
Mm,
And some people have those big moments in their life to give them a wake up call, but it's also a choice whether you want to reset or you continue to go pedal and push it uphill. So, so
yeah.
that started then, but also too, it was a confluence of other things. I started several businesses on my own. My latest being Maven Data, which was an AI-powered strategic market research business, multi-award winning, known for predicting accurately trends in market. And I became an election whisperer because I accurately predicted elections in the US and Australia. And then did all the
Wow.
rounds, and my reputation was all data, AI, and I was explaining AI before AI existed. It existed, but not everyone knew what it was.
Yes.
So, but the business it went really well, and then it went really quiet. And so, there was almost a moment where I could continue to push shit uphill,
Mm,
but it wasn't flowing anymore. I wasn't getting clients as easily, and to the point where it was absolutely blatantly obvious. I had the heights of success of predicting the election in 2020 when Morrison lost, right?
wow.
And the teal independent wave came through, and I predicted that. No one saw that coming. I had the height of that press and that sort of brand awareness, but then I had like 8 different client leads come through, great pipeline, but then none of them closed, not one. And I am a person that can sell rice to the Chinese. So for me, 0 out of 8 was a real sign to say that door shut.
Wow.
Absolutely not your door anymore. No matter what I did, I couldn't make it happen, right? So that's that's happened a few times in my life, actually, that when the door's really shut. So that, again, forced me to then look at what else should I be doing that's not data, that's not AI, because clearly this is not the channel for me. And then that's when I started getting into, I don't know how it started, but someone handed me a book, which was Between Life and Death.
Okay.
And it's a hypnotherapist named Michael Newton that over the course of his career, he took people down in hypnotherapy for normal things, like, everyday things. But then people would recount similar stories of how they would pass over. So similar stories about, when you die, you get greeted by a soul, and then you go to the soul worlds where there's all these different grades of souls. Now, people were saying the same things, that they didn't know each other. And so he kind of figured out there's a pattern here. There's a truth behind all this, and he created a book called Between Life and Death. Wow. And that opened my mind, because it was like, well, there's so much beyond what we know in our conscious mind, what we've learnt, what we've accumulated in experiences. It's so vast that it just piqued my interest and blew up from there. So from then I started reading into consciousness, raising awareness, the metaphysical healing modes, all the things. And also, mind you, I was going through rheumatoid arthritis. So that in parallel forced me to heal. And I tried so many different healing modalities, so many, from the Western to the Eastern, from the legal to the illegal. I did everything right to figure out what would work. And ultimately, my rheumatoid arthritis came from having to acknowledge my trauma from my childhood, my relationship with my mother.
Wow.
So, and I had the benefit of so many different healers who have been my teachers, who've all taught me little bits and pieces. So over a period of 7 years, when I was really, really sick, couldn't work, critically ill, to weekly injections just to keep my immune system, not flary, to get over to the other side, get off all the meds, and do a triathlon.
Oh my God.
That was my journey.
Wow.
That was 7 years for me. And I've learned all of this. And in that time, I opened more and more and more to this other way of being. So I'm now an energy coach because I want to teach people the skills that I have adopted over my 7 years. It shouldn't take 7 years now. So it's not as random.
But I don't have that time, sorry.
No one's got time, but it takes as long as it needs to take. So, and I see that, so the door closed with AI work. I wasn't feeling it anymore. I wasn't really enjoying the interactions with my clients, to be honest. That sort of transactional, it wasn't meaningful to me. And I wanted to do something new. And then I started entertaining this idea, and I got onto Dolores Cannon, who is the godmother of this hypnotherapy. And she's in her 40-year career, her story was that she was actually the hypnotherapist sidekick of her husband, who worked for the US Army, and he was doing hypnotherapy on soldiers who had PTSD.
Oh, wow.
And so then he got into a serious accident where he became either a quadriplegic or a paraplegic. So then she continued his work with 4 young children.
Wow.
In the Midwest of the US. This is like 40 years ago. So over time, she took on what was initially hypnotherapy to now what she's called QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, because she's found that through tweaking, she could get deeper and deeper. And then at one point, she realized that people were accessing past lives and even experiences on UFOs when they were abducted. And this is all in the 80s.
This is wild.
This is all in the 80s and 90s, right? Where people were like, are UFOs real or not? Well, let me tell you, they are real, and there are extraterrestrials that interact with us. They have been for a long time. So if you start sort of scratching the surface of this lost knowledge, she's written 20 plus books about this stuff, where all the stuff that she's learned through hypnotizing people in sessions. She's got a series on Nostradamus, where she's connected with someone who connected to a student of Nostradamus back in the day. She's
Wow.
written a series on Jesus and the Essenes, somebody who was in that Jesus time where he was a real person and living, the whole series on how the earth was seeded, how
Oh my
humans came to
God.
be. Like, if
Yeah.
you start reading this stuff, and this is collation of information from thousands of people
Mm.
who don't know each other, but the information is coming from this source, which is the quantum dimension.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? So she developed this ability to get deeper, and then past life exploration to heal people. Right? You can't say the word heal though in this modern age. You can
Oh,
say
yes, of course, that
relieve
would be.
physical discomfort.
That's right. You get in trouble from the whatever
Everyone.
FDA and what have you.
You
Yeah.
can't say certain things. So you know what? We
Mm.
just quietly do our thing.
Yeah.
So I stumbled across that, and I was really interested in learning to become a practitioner. And I myself had to go through it and be hypnotized and
Mm.
experience it and ask that question of my subconscious, can I do this? And I had to do
Wow.
it twice just to be sure,
Of course.
just to be sure. And so by the second one, I was like, yep, I can do it. So, and there's a beautiful sort of experience I had in my hypnosis sessions where the messages that came through to me by my subconscious was very much fitting to how I needed to receive it. So, for example,
Mm.
going from economist to energy healer is almost like unheard of, right? Changing identity. Who do you like? The brain was going, conscious mind going, who do you think you are? You're not a psychologist. You don't know how to deal with people's lives. You're a business person. You're a numbers person. What's all this woo-woo, hippy-dippy stuff, blah, blah, blah. That chatter was going on really loud. And then there was the other, oh, you built your reputation as this, you've done this beautiful thing. Blah, blah, blah. Who are you like now going off into the wilderness, like chatter, chatter, chatter. But there was that
Mm.
softer voice that was coming through going, no, 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 I really don't enjoy doing that work anymore. I really don't.
Mm.
And I want to explore this other thing. There's a little curiosity, and it's a magnetic pull. It's something was pulling me towards it. Couldn't explain why. And so I did a session, and in my own session, there was one particular scene I experienced where I was green slime in a pipe. Not all
Wow.
past life exploration is human, just saying. It's true.
This is wild.
It
Yeah.
is wild, right? So not all of it's human. Everyone wants to experience being Cleopatra or some awesome
Sure. Yes,
person. And no,
absolutely.
most people have what we call boring lives and, everyday run of the mill digging potatoes lives, which is what Dolores says. So, but in some instances, people do travel off to other dimensions or become abstract things. And I have become abstract things in my past life experiences. So I was green slime in a pipe, and the pipe was musty and yuck and boring. I was dead
Mm.
bored in that scene. I was green slime, and it was doop, 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 like
Wow.
boring. Nothing was happening. And then there was fire that came into the scene and sort of transmuted green slime into energy. And so then I became this energy wave, and it went whoosh, and it moved really, really fast. I'm making hand signals and stuff for those that are listening only. So in that moment, the message to me was, and I've had a few of these in that session where I transformed. The message
Mm.
was, Elisa, you can always transform from one mode, one form into another.
Mm.
You can always transform and you will be okay. Right. So,
And don't you think that even your description of being an economist and in data and not feeling it and in AI and boring, 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 like you're like living out the green slime version of your life,
correct. I was
waiting to
feeling it.
transform.
That's
Mm.
exactly right. I was bored. I really was
Wow.
bored, and I really wasn't feeling it, and it wasn't bringing me joy anymore. It used
Mm.
to, but not anymore. And so and I'm actually glad that the universe closed all those doors, because if I had those 8 accounts drop, I would have a pipeline for the next couple of years of work, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't happen. It wasn't easy to
No.
accept it though. But now I look back and I go, I understand why. It had to be dramatic for me to change, just like my rheumatoid arthritis. I wasn't going to rest and stop
Mm.
until I was forced to stop. That's just me.
Wow. And isn't that wild how I'm sure there are people who would actually have interpreted that and they're probably going through something in their life where they've gone, well, obviously I'm crap and I've failed and
Yeah.
they're not actually going, what is this trying to tell me?
Yeah, that's right. That's where the ego comes
Wow.
in and says, oh, I did something wrong. I didn't deserve these clients. I wasn't smart enough. Did I
Mm,
price it wrong? But actually, if you go through a process where you realize your ego is just that tiny part of you that it has its role, but in the bigger picture, your soul's purpose is much bigger than this moment in time
mm,
in life. So finding out why why certain big things have happened has really been a big question that people come to see me for. And doing it through this process where the answer actually comes from your subconscious, not from me. I'm not
mm.
telling you the answer. I'm just facilitating a conversation with your subconscious who knows all the answers for you. That's a different level of hearing
Yeah,
than
wow.
talk therapy. And when you understand the bigger picture, it gives you that sense of understanding and peace, and then you can move on. So people come with trauma, for example, like lots of childhood trauma where it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, you name it. And they've talked about it. They know it, know it, know it. They're not saying they're a victim, but it's
Mm,
still holding them back in some way. And so when we go into processes, we can understand, why did this happen to this person? And there's a really big story. There's a beautiful story. And sometimes it's like understanding what that story is gives you that peace to move on. It was not you
mm.
at all. And the reason why you had that moment was to bring you to this moment. And then that usually leads to this soul purpose question, which is, now you've been through all of these things so that you can be more effective in your next thing. So when you say, going back to the question of economist to energy work, my role is actually help and be a bridge to help people cross the bridge from where they were in corporate, professional, burnout
Mm.
world, left brain focused only, conscious mind led only, to a more balanced whole brain, heart and brain, body, mind, soul connection to align to what they should be doing. And usually by about 40, 50, you know, they will feel a burning desire to do something more. They're like, it's got to be
Mm.
more to life than this, whatever this is. But there's nothing that gives them that sense of real purpose and fulfillment.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, as you've been describing the whole story, the biggest question I had was, how do we get people to potentially see through the woo-woo? I'm huge woo-woo, love the woo-woo, but I know it's a real barrier for some people. They just go, no, that's too much, that's too wild, that's too crazy. But what you just said, it starts with that there's got to be something more. There has to be. And I think that there are so many people who are just going through life, ticking the boxes and waking up in the morning going, you are kidding me. How did I get here? Is this it?
Yeah, it's usually around, I would say, for our generations in our 40s, because we've done the things we
Mm,
wanted to do. We know ourselves quite well. We know what we're good at. We know what we don't like. We know all the things. We've got the children or the family or not. We've made our decisions. But there's
yeah.
something deeper that goes, I want to contribute meaningfully to society.
Yeah.
I want to leave something behind that is more than this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that a lot, particularly as you know that the world is just in chaos. How can
Mm,
we bring a little bit of peace and joy into every day, into our little world? And that can become your chosen reality, is a new term, chosen reality.
chosen reality. Oh, I
And I
like that.
believe, yeah, it's chosen reality. And
Mm,
I am from an economist data background, so that I know how to speak to people like me. So it
mm,
doesn't sound woo woo. It doesn't sound like Marion with Jara. If you remember that.
Yes,
You know,
that's
there's,
hilarious.
yeah, I mean, I understand I need to appeal to the rational mind to entice it
Mm,
with some curiosity and some wild stories, just like how I was.
mm.
How I was. And so, because I speak in that way, I can become more effective for that audience.
Yeah, and it is interesting as well. I find, oftentimes when people say something's too woo-woo or too, oh my God, that's too out there, it's too wild for me, that in and of itself is just another excuse not to live up to your true potential, not to take that bold step. It's just another way to say that that fulfillment, that life isn't for me.
There's an element of two parts to this. It's like, what should I be doing?
Mm,
And then there's the other part, give me the courage to remove the blocks in order to step into it.
yeah.
Sometimes we get halfway, we know what we should be doing, but we can't get ourselves to get.
Well, how big a sacrifice is it sometimes to when you choose the life that you want, oftentimes it means sacrificing the life you have.
Well, it depends on if you were use the word sacrifice, it means you have to lose, which means it's a
Mm,
zero-sum game equation, which is not the
yep.
way that quantum is. In the energy world, there is no limit.
Wow.
So you don't have to sacrifice anything.
Oh, I love that.
It's a different perspective on looking at the same thing. And,
Hmm.
if you study or listen to a couple of these sages and philosophy, and lots of people have opened out my perspective on looking at the same thing, right? So
Mm,
this is accumulation of many years of reflection and doing and trying and not doing it, but you need that time and space to entertain it. And so I think the key thing is burnout now is the big hook for me, where people like they know burnout helped me with burnout, and
mm,
it's an energy equation. So then I talk to them about that. But the second part is the burning desire to do something more than this.
yeah.
Life is going to be more than this. Now, then that can throw out a lot of things going, well, then that means I give up this job that I hate. That means that I don't have the money for this house that I really think is too big, to be honest.
Don't want
Oh,
anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's all the things. Or it could be like,
Yeah.
I really just don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I want to be free. Like all the things. Like, do you call it a sacrifice or do you call it an opportunity for growth? It's just how you frame it.
Yeah. And I think stepping into the unknown is really scary for some people. And I feel like hate the house, hate the relationship, hate the job, hate all the things. You still worked your entire life to get them. So it's almost like this opportunity cost. And
Yeah,
I feel like that is such a blocker for people because they're like, it is a risk. And,
yeah,
the potential is wild, the potential for happiness and fulfillment. But I feel like they just go, yeah, but I just spent the last 40 to 50 years getting here. And you're
yeah.
telling me that it's all for nothing. But you did say something earlier that I loved, which was that is what got you to the next step. It's not in vain. It wasn't not worth it. Every opportunity and experience is preparing you and leading you to the next thing. And if we can get this quantum bridge to get us there faster, imagine if the next 40 to 50 years was absolutely infinitely incredible rather than just more of the same.
That's right. And also, I find that it's actually not a radical difference in what you're going to be doing, whatever it is. So you may feel it's different. It being an economist to an energy coach feels different, but actually it's not. I'm still finding
Mm,
answers to people's questions. I now do it for people, not businesses. I'm still
mm,
using data. It's just a different data set. And I'm still using a scientific method. It's not like, woo woo. There is actual practitioner, guides and how we do the things. It's an art and a science. As with anything we do, there's art and science. And so it's not that far off removed. If I became like a baker,
yeah.
then that would be like, okay, I get it. But also too, like you can, there's a weaving there. Like, okay, maybe it's about
Mm.
creation of something, or I don't know what it is, but I'm not a baker, but
Ingredients. I went with like data and ingredients.
yeah,
Yeah.
so but the beautiful thing is I am more effective doing this now than if I had picked it up in my 20s, because I've
Mm,
had life experience. I've had my Hiroshima moments. I've had, things that are relatable that gives me beautiful context to hear and be with the clients that come through. So everything has its purpose. It's a beautiful journey of life is just a series of choices and opportunities that present, and we have free will. So then we can, it's like Choose Your Own Adventure, those books,
Yeah.
you
That
know.
takes me back. Yes.
And then sometimes, most people have an idea of what they want. They really do. But they're kind of afraid to go there. And that's where tapping into the subconscious part through a quantum session with me gives them that confidence, because they know they can hear it from themselves. The second part, which is also, that's more appealing to the left brain. Okay, hearing it from the subconscious. Okay, I get it. But this is actually the kicker. Even though you hear it from your subconscious, the way it's presented to you in a quantum session is that you experience and feel it. So you feel the freedom, you feel the joy, you feel and embody the state that you want to be going to. The feeling is actually what gets you over the line, because
Yeah.
talking about it, again, is one element. But when you go into a process where you're feeling and embody that person's life in a past
Mm.
life, you are feeling it and hearing it, with inverted commas, in a different way. Your body hears it in its
Mm.
cells. And so that, to me, is the real kicker. That's what creates the shift.
Yeah,
So
that's super interesting. It makes me reflect on all of the times in my life where I've known something has been right. It has been a feeling, not a logical decision. It has been, oh my God, I'm so excited by this idea or this change or this opportunity. That feeling in your stomach, the butterflies, the whatever that is. It's not been, yes, this is the right, I'm pointing to my
yes,
brain, this is the
yeah.
right next step, logical thing to do. It's never been about that. It's always been chasing that excitement and that feeling and that full body experience.
Correct. And the great way to actually bring it home for that point that you just mentioned is that, who do you fall in love with?
Yeah.
It just, you don't logically go, I should fall in love with that person. Gosh, how many times
Yeah.
have I said to myself, if only I could have a feeling for you? Because on paper, you're an amazing
You're ticking
person,
all the boxes.
but I have no feeling towards you. You know what I mean? So there's that, again, everyone can relate to that.
Yes.
Everyone can relate to that. And then when you actually work in this area, very big question people ask is, why do I have a soul contract with my husband, or do I have a karmic contract
Mhm.
with my child or my mother or my... Now, the answer is that most of the time you do, which means you
Mm.
chose them to play your mother or your brother or your partner or your sister in order for you to learn something off each other in this lifetime. It was preordained before you came into this life. And most likely or not, you are actually in a past life together in some other relationship format to learn some other lesson, probably the same lesson. And if you don't learn that lesson in this life, you all do it again.
Mm.
So how does that happen magically? Well, when these people come into your life, you don't logically go, oh, I should love that person or whatever. It just happens. When you come in as a child, the parents are there, like, chosen. It's all, it's not random. It's actually quite magically, I'd say, orchestrated for
Mm.
a purpose.
So, if somebody's listening to this and they're feeling like, oh my God, I have that feeling. I want something more. I know I'm destined for something more. I'm feeling stuck. I feel like I know what it is. Are there things that they should do today, or should they just get in touch with you and just get this sorted out?
Well, if they're anyone like me, I would just say straight up, come and do a session, because it's a gentle way to find the answers. It's efficient and it's
Mm.
effective. So there are ways for you to try and tap into your subconscious. You can do it through meditation. You can do psychedelic sessions. You can do breath work. You can do singing bowls. You can do crystal healing. You can do all the things, right? But
Yeah.
I have found that having someone else help me get there is
Mm.
more efficient. And also, it's quite a deep session. It goes for a couple of hours, half a day at least. So, you know,
Wow.
to get to that level of insight and experiencing that level of past life exploration. We need to take you to a deep level of consciousness. It's not just
Wow.
come in for 45 minutes and I'll do a Reiki on you. It's
Mm.
deeper than that. So that's why I'm doing this, because I know it works and it's the most efficient way and it's got effective results. So for someone who says, yes, I've got this block, I want to know what it is, I want to remove the block, come and see me, and I call it rewiring the back end of your mind. You
I love
don't have
it.
to do anything. You just lie down and really have a deeply relaxing experience.
That sounds right up my alley at the moment. Yes.
You know, so if you
Mm.
can, and you don't need to come see me like regularly. This is the thing, like, you know, when you're serious and you really want to get into it, you come and see me and we'll get into it.
Oh my God, this is so good. Now, I could talk to you all day, but we've talked zero business and all life today, which I
Oh, really?
absolutely love. No, but I love that. It's always a choose your own adventure on these podcasts. But what I'm going to do is ask you the same question that I ask everybody to wrap up. So, reflecting on your time in business, and I would say reflecting on your transition as well between career to business, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to another woman on her business journey?
Oh my gosh, that's just too broad. A piece of advice.
You're like, we have to start all over again.
I know. You know, to be honest, I'm not just about plugging myself and all that. To be honest, it's about find a way to tap into your own answers from within. So with my modality, it's your subconscious self through hypnosis. As soon as you can get that confirmation and clarity within yourself, it doesn't matter. Everything
Mm,
else just falls in, because for me, it's like missing that guiding post. Having that inkling is not strong enough. Having that confirmation and the deep clarity, that actually is, it saves me time and effort and energy in the wrong direction when I have my clarity. And so I would say, you know, do this process. I wish I knew earlier, but I didn't. But that's okay, because I understand what the fumbles and the foils are of not being in that clarity. I do now have clarity. So
mm,
I think clarity is such a gift, because it gives you focus and it gives you confidence. And for women, 100%, we all need to get rid of the doubt. So
yes.
anything that can help us with clarity and focus and then confidence, I'd love to help, because once women can all get their shit sorted, oh my goodness, the world will transform.
Oh my God, that is so true. And I just couldn't agree with you more. When you have clarity, when you have focus, when you have confidence, business feels easy, which,
And it should be fun.
yeah, it should be fun. Let's bring back the fun.
Bring back the fun. It's a choice though, right? So you either
Mm,
choose to choose the fun or you choose the hamster wheel. But it's a choice. It's got to be
absolutely.
more to life than this.
You are incredible, Elisa. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your journey and your story and your wisdom with the Spark community. That was absolutely incredible. And hopefully, we've helped bring a little bit more clarity to the women in this
Well,
community.
how about I give you an offer for anybody who's heard this beautiful interview between us? Thank you, Daniel, for having me on. How about I give a beautiful Spark discount for Spark people?
Do it.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
We want discounts. Yes,
we want
please.
discounts.
Yep.
Yeah. So how about a 20% discount? So, you know, if you hear this and you're interested and come and see me, the only thing is you need to see me in person. We can't do it by Zoom. So it's a Sydney thing.
Mhm.
Mention this and I'll give you a 20% discount.
You are incredible. I will pop a link to all of your things
Yeah.
under this podcast and that note so that anyone listening in can access that and access you. Thank you for being so generous. That's incredible.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and thank you for listening. It's been lovely spending time with you.
That wraps another episode of Spark TV. Shout out to Spark TV sponsor IP Australia for their amazing support of the Spark podcast and women in business. And if no one tells you today, you've got this.